All right, guys. Well, welcome back to Post Frame 360. I am one of your dashingly gorgeous hosts, Scott Cragg, who has an uncooperative beard this morning. If you're watching, you can see it's being a little rebellious. Josh, how are you this morning, my friend?
Good. Yeah, you could use a little trim there. I mean,
No,
just a little trim. Just
no, it doesn't get trimmed. You don't put baby in the corner. We've talked about this. And hey, if you're watching us online, you'll see that again. We have 3 people here in the studio. Things were so good last time with Mark, and we're like, hey, you know what? This guest thing works. And so we have, if you're watching, don't let the yellow vest scare you off, our resident minion, Jared Collins. Jared, welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. So you're like, well, who's Jared? Or you're going to get to know Jared a little bit here. And why is he on the podcast? Well, today's title is Trust Me. It's really important. And that is TRUSS. So we're going to be talking about trusses, and Jared manages our production. So intimately involved with the whole truss process. And so the reason we're going to be talking about that this morning is, we're one of the largest suppliers of custom trusses. We do a lot of cool stuff. So I want you to know about what we can do. And then as you start thinking about your jobs, when things start picking up again, how to manage your jobs, understanding better the truss process. Because yes, sometimes we can do a 3-day turnaround, but when we get into some of these more customized trusses, guys, you got to plan ahead for that stuff. So that's where we're going to go today. So Jared, man, thanks for being here. Why don't you just tell us, give us a, 30-second, 60-second intro of Jared Collins.
Okay, yeah. So I actually started at Burrow's in 2020, and I started managing the truss plant. Up to that point, I did not know what trusses were. Fortunately for me, we had a really good process in place. So I got to come in and really learn the process in a good training program, and really got to watch how our Toyota production system worked in the truss plant. They have it really well set up, and over the years got to do lots of training and understanding of trusses and what they are and what they're not. So I've been here since 2020, been enjoying every bit of it, and we're making good things happen here.
Oh, don't lie. I've seen you on the days when you're not enjoying your job. All right.
There are those days, but I would say there's far more good days than there are bad days.
Well, that's because I joined the company a little over a year ago, and your days just got better.
Sunshine and rainbows since then.
All right, guys, we'll end the bromance right there. So yeah, Jared does a great job. And so you mentioned the Toyota program. So for some of our listeners who don't know about that, share a little bit about what that looks like and why we use that, and what difference that makes in trust, and how that can impact our contractors.
Yeah. So we call it the Toyota production system, but really it's the Burrow's production system. We've taken some of the best lean practices that other companies have perfected, really, in the automotive industry and some different places. And really we've made those principles and practices our own. We're all about eliminating waste. We want to eliminate waste. We don't want to have to rework anything. We don't want to have to use 20-foot board and only use 8 foot of it. So we're looking at just about anything and everything we can to help eliminate waste and make sure that our customers get exactly what they ask for. In the eliminating waste, we're able to actually cut cost and pass that on to our customers. We want to be a low cost provider on good quality products.
Okay. That's awesome. Josh?
well, when I was, most listeners know I work remotely from my home in Texas, and every couple of months I get to come up to the plant, and I always, Jared will usually take me around and show me, the new things, the new improvements. And this last trip, I was really impressed with the truss plant, how everything's just so systematically laid out, and there's literally a process for everything. And I always try to find some questions to ask, and, that usually pertain to our clients and quality and speed and efficiencies. And these guys have an answer for it. And, they're doing great work out there. And, when Scott came to me the other day, he's like, let's talk about trusses. I'm like, we need to have Jared on. So he's our resident expert there. So
yes, he is.
This is good. This is good.
So let's start this the journey up the slope. Pitch, get it? Come on,
Yeah.
man. Gotta laugh a little bit, Josh. Okay. So man, Josh, we found your new calling. You're my sound effects engineer. Okay.
Coordinator.
So what's that?
Coordinator.
Coordinator. I like engineer, man. Okay. So the thing is, since I've been here, up until about 3 years ago, a lot of our trusses were just shop trusses, right? Like shops, barns. And so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we were probably 75%, maybe even 80% of the trusses we built were for shops, ag buildings, stuff like that. The, and so, you got, where is it, 20% of everything else would be like custom trusses. In the past 3 years, that has flip-flopped almost. We
Not
are
almost,
probably,
it has.
yeah, so we are probably 70% of custom trusses. And, and whenever I say custom truss, a lot of you probably know what that means, but I'm just going to clarify a little bit. So parallel cord, scissor trusses, we do attic trusses, HVAC trusses. Like there's all these different types that we do. And as the barn dominium market has increased in demand, we've seen a huge shift. The reason why I say that is for some of our contractors, they're like, well, how come I can't just walk in and get trusses? I used to get trusses. Well, because the used to get trusses were, pretty typical 30 wide, 312, 40 wide, 312. Well, now whenever we got to do a barn or a house package, that's a whole different ballgame. So, Jared, if you would speak to what that's done for truss production and how that looks from a timing standpoint, now that that has kind of flip-flopped.
Yeah, absolutely. So we would love to do the same truss over and over again in production. If there was only ever one truss and everyone wanted those one trusses and they were all the same truss, we would be in hog heaven. Unfortunately, that's not where we're at right now. But what we've done and the market shift has forced us to get better at a couple of different things, right?
Okay.
It's forced us to diversify the type of equipment that we have. It's also forced us to pull in some better practices, some best practices to make sure we can handle the changeover quantities. It's not uncommon to see a truss order with 3 or 4 different types of trusses in it today. And whereas in times past, that was abnormal. But today it's really forced us, and the team has done a good job of really stepping up to the plate and swinging and getting better at making sure we can handle changeovers quickly and efficiently, diversifying what tables we're going to put stuff on. And we have 5 tables that we can set up on, and really getting better at level loading and planning our work based on what's coming in. And we have a good gantry, and we're able to really diversify what we put on there. Sometimes you might see 2 or 3 different types of trusses set up on there at a time, which is what has really helped us through this transition of going from 20 to 80 to 80 to 20 now.
Okay. So I think about some of my experience, some of the things that I've seen in the field. Because here's the thing, I think most of our contractors would agree if you're building a shop, and you take pride in your work. That's not what I'm saying here. But if you're building a shop, you're building an ag building, you're probably not going to pay a whole lot of attention to the truss plates and some of the imperfections, right? But as you get into more of a customer who is wanting, this is their man cave, right? They're going to trick it out. Or you get into barn dominiums, that tolerance comes way down. So talk a little bit, Jared, about kind of what is considered within tolerance as it relates to truss placement. Like, are they perfectly square on each webbing? Like, tell me a little bit about what should be expected, and maybe where are the expectations too high, just so that our contractors, customers can kind of get a feel for that.
Yeah. So it's going to differentiate, based on your joints and all of the many technical term and factors that go into making a truss. But when we're building a truss, we always want to make sure our plates are straight and exactly how the schematics tell us they should be, right?
Mhm.
If a truss plate is angled this way on their engineered papers, then we want to make sure we have it engineered that exact way.
Mhm.
Fortunately, they know there's a human side to this, and so they allow a certain tolerance. And every place is different, right? But the engineering can say, yeah, we're going to use a bigger plate here, which will provide a larger tolerance for. Okay, is it off 10% on its angle? Is it to the left a little bit? Is it to the right a bit? We have engineered in there that we have some tolerance there, some wiggle room, just due to knowing our equipment and what we place where. There's the human side of that, right? We don't have robots placing plates.
Right.
We have people who have lives outside of here that are trying to make sure that each plate placement is put on exactly perfectly. But yes, there are some challenges with that.
Yeah. So I love what you said there, like 10%, like what's within tolerance. I'm picky. You know that about me, and tend to be a bit of a perfectionist, right? So
Right.
whenever I am going around our yard, and this was me, like that's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation, right? It's like I don't know what I don't know. So I'm looking at our yard, I'm looking at trusses, and I was like, oh, that main plate on the bottom cord, that thing's crooked. Okay. Well, Jared whips out this handy dandy little business card, and it's got like you can put it on the truss plate and it shows how much is within tolerance, right? I was like, first of all, I didn't even know that card existed. Wow, that's pretty awesome. But to know that there's a 10% tolerance of that plate not being perfectly square, I was like, well, I didn't know that, right? And so I hope that's part of what you're getting here as our listeners, is we want to help you develop the right expectations so that your expectations of Burrows are met, but then that you're also creating the right expectations for your customer, right? Because obviously, if you're going to have a liner, if you're going to do drywall, this conversation doesn't matter from an aesthetic standpoint. But if it's exposed, right, and you've got a super picky customer, it's good for you to understand. Hey, wait, on as it relates to trusses and truss manufacturing, plates should have an allowance or a tolerance of being 10% out of perfectly square, right? So maybe that's helpful. I hope that's helpful to some of you.
I know it's
Yeah,
helpful for
and
me. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
and keep in mind, we have a standard, and we want to always meet the standard. No, I lied. We want to beat the standard.
There you go.
And you got to think we're putting on thousands of plates a day.
Mhm.
So if one or two might be just a little bit different, that's still a good day. But
Yeah.
I like the perfectionist side as well, because I want to make sure that each trusses are way more than these two easy things I'm going to say.
Yes.
But this is what I tell my people out there. Trusses are basically two things: well cut lumber
Mm.
and well placed plates.
Mhm.
Those two things make a really good truss.
There you go.
Mhm.
All right. I like that.
One thing I know, or one thing we talked about when I was there is it doesn't happen very often. A few times that I'm aware of that sometimes you might have a missing plate actually.
Yeah.
And I think Jared was able to point out, how actually easily that could happen because of the visibility. You literally have no visibility on the underside. And so you also filled me in on a new piece of equipment or tool that we're going to get to help with that. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we are looking, we're always looking. Continuous improvement is one of our core values, right? And so we always want to look at getting better. And while missing plates is a rare occasion, it's never a good occasion.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at a piece of equipment that looks at the underside, which is historically the gross amount of missing plates we have, right? And we kick off trusses, they fall onto the rollers. Sometimes that plate will come undone and fall off during the process.
Mhm.
But there's this piece of equipment out there that's looking from the bottom up as it's going through, and it will stop the line and detect where the missing plate is. It knows through the algorithm that there is a missing plate, and it's going to stop the line for us. And we will then, we don't have anyone underneath the rollers right now just looking up and, making sure. But in the future, hopefully this piece of equipment is exactly what we want, because it'll catch any missing plates. Typically, the underside of the truss is the hardest to see because you don't have eyes under there. This piece of equipment will absolutely allow us to detect that and prevent it, which is best case scenario for us.
Well, Jared, until we get that piece of equipment, we might put you there, because when I'm looking for you around the office, you're usually laying down anyway. So, I mean, we could just put you under the truss
Under the rollers,
rollers. I mean, just say, oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm down. I'm down. If you give me a pillow, I'd be okay.
Yeah. So
The,
something you said there, I think this also speaks to your team, and I just think people understand this. So tell me, when we have a steady demand, like, what is the normal amount of board feet on average we would run in a day or a week? Just when everything's normal.
Yeah, I would say we're going to run around 12 to 13,000 board feet a day. That's a pretty, steady pace for us. So we're going to do about 60 to 65,000 board feet for a week.
Mhm.
That's a lot of board foot, and that's a lot of plates going through.
Right, right. And so that's the norm, guys, right? So, like, when business is steady, everyone's purchasing at a steady rhythm, they're running that, 15, 16,000 board feet, correct?
Yeah,
But
close to there. Yeah.
when demand rises, so if you've listened to the previous podcast, we talked about how we were behind 2 to 3 weeks on trusses, and we're still running a little bit behind. So, Jared, in this high demand time, how many board feet were you averaging?
So there was a week there that we were averaging, we did about 75,000 board feet one week,
Okay.
which is really good. So actually, for all of us, October was the first month this year where we hit over 300,000 board feet for the month. First
Yeah.
time this year.
Yeah.
This hasn't happened since last year. So we were super excited about that number.
Yeah, and so that's I appreciate you having those numbers, because, again, guys, if you're think about a board foot, right? And you think about the fact that we're pushing, 60,000 board feet a week, and to have accurately built trusses, truss plates, and everything that goes into that. The fact that we produce the trusses we do, I think it's something that at Burrows I'm proud of. You know, like Jared said, sometimes a truss plate is missing. Well, we're not happy with that. So, Jared, you guys just went to a conference a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago, where you went and learned about, hey, what is the proper quality expectation of trusses? Maybe what are some of those things that we're missing, and what can we do better? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is. The training was specifically trust training, and there's some cool tools out there that we will adopt in the near future to audit our truss plate placement, to audit the quality of lumber. So we're making plans now to integrate that into our system, which will be beneficial, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll challenge us from the standpoint of right now we do some eye test and we do human. This will actually take a tablet and a picture and upload our schematics to it and tell us where the critical joints are, and tell us, oh, that plate has 60 out of 72 teeth. Yep, that's a pass. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, that's not a pass. We need to fix that one.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get that technology in at Burrows and be glad to have it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Obviously, you don't work too often directly with our contractor, right? The contractors are working with me and the CSR team. They're telling us what they need, what they want. We're putting that order in, and we're sending it out for production in a truss plant. Let's say you have all of our customers and contractors as a captive audience. What would you like them to know about trusses? And here's the thing, Jared. If they listen to this podcast, they know that we don't hold any punches. We're always professional, but we also speak just the way it is. So if you're like, y'all just don't give us enough time, like what would you like to tell them? What do they need to know that allows you to help them better, even though they may not understand it until you tell them?
I want to throw a funny out there and just say
Bring it.
your gable pieces in your truss are not structural. So
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't. They might appear off or appear kind of like, well, those are just thrown in. Yeah, they really are just thrown in, and we plate them and we put them in. We attempted the staples because they're non-structural. They're simply there just. But so we attempted the staples because we got that okay from our engineering company, and it was like, well, that didn't work so well. So we went back to plating them. But your gable pieces are non-structural, but they we want them to look good. And that one is literally we build the truss and then we put the gable pieces in afterwards and roll them through the finished press. So that's one of those things that's like, sometimes I hear like, well, the gable piece, we picked it up with our boom lift and the gable piece. Well, yeah, it's not a solid piece there. It is simply there just so you can tack your metal into. That's it.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Because I'm guilty of that one. What the heck is wrong with this gable? Those pieces are crooked, right? Okay. That's a good one. That's a really good one. You have anything else?
Yeah, I would say we engineer to cover most in any. We over engineer. That's what I'm going to say, right? We're going to over engineer our trusses and make sure that we do everything we can to make sure it's a good quality truss coming out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And our clients appreciate that 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
right,
one thing before you go into it, Scott, I want to throw this out there. A couple things I've heard, and I want to just tell our listeners that, and just reiterate this is, because we are busy with truss and because everybody needs their stuff quickly and, efficiently, it's just another time to remind our clients, the sooner you can put in your order, the better. So, if you've got a contract signed and you don't need it for 3-4 weeks, I don't care. Get it in. Like, let us put that on our radar, right? So that we can make decisions based on our schedule to help move through things and get things out when they need it, right?
Yeah. 100%. And you mentioned schedule. So our scheduler, Maisie, is back. So she was out on maternity leave. And we're glad to have her back in that position, that role, because it allows us to better help you as the contractor, and it allows us to be really super efficient in our production. Because here's the thing, I know, like, I've been in construction. I know what it's like. You get a job on the books, something pushes you out, the pad wasn't ready, concrete was delayed. So you're going to probably start getting phone calls, right? Hey, contractor Joe, we've got a building that's scheduled to go production for you next week. I'm calling to confirm that you still want that building. Is that good to go? Oh yeah, I don't know. Okay, we need to know that, right? And we can push your job out, because what we don't want to do, especially right now, getting into some wet weather, rainy season and winter, we don't want to produce your job because we don't have a place to store your trusses inside. All right. Yeah. They have to sit outside. And so if you're like, I need that job, and you're, oh, hey, I'm going to push that 2 weeks. Well, guess what? Your trusses are going to sit out in the weather for 2 weeks. Okay. So we try to help you as much as we can. And I get it. Like, you're busy, things are going on, but you can save yourself so much time, so much headache, so much money if you just take a little extra time to plan that job and communicate with us, right? Like, man, I think I'm going to push that job. As soon as you think you're going to push the job, call us.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? I think I need to push that job a week or two. What can you do for me? Like, communication is key. And I know you're busy, but man, if you could communicate with us, it makes it a whole lot easier for us to help you. Keep your jobs on track, your material looking good, which takes me to my next question, Jared, and we're almost to our time slot for today. But if I've got a real picky customer and he's building just a, phenomenal, awesome man cave, and he says, I want those trusses to look awesome. I don't want any staining. I don't want any knots. Like, I want great trusses. Can our contractors upgrade or request like a super awesome truss with no imperfections? Yeah. So can our contractors, if they want like a super high quality truss, they want materials like number one, they don't want any knots, like they want a really cool looking truss because that's what their customers asked for. Is that doable?
Yeah, I would say it was doable. We do see come across from time to time something that says show trust, especially when the shows are happening, right? So we know, okay, we want to make sure we're using either MSR or number one lumber, right? We don't want any trusses with number two lumber or number three for webs, whatever. We want to make sure that that's good quality lumber. Yeah, I agree with that.
Awesome. All right. So here's the thing. If you want one of those trusses, just a show truss, you want us to use MSR number one, you got to give us time, right? Because if you want us to go through the lumber pile, if you're like, hey, I want this to be awesome, you need to give us time because we have to go through and pick the lumber and then we've got to have time to set that up. So again, I can't reiterate it enough. Communication is key. And in order for you to be happy and your customer to be happy, you got to give us time. Okay. I know the old way of doing things at Burrows, and it was great for the season we were in, which is a 3-day turnaround. I really, really want to stress to you guys listening, the business has changed. The level of complexity of the buildings has changed. The 3-day turnaround, we still shoot for that, all right? But I'm going to ask you, I'm going to appeal to you, please change your expectations of Burrows to a minimum of 5 days. I would like you to be thinking 8. Okay. That's my request of you. Be thinking 8 days. We know that there's times when you need something quick, but the business has changed. The Burrows that you used to work with whenever we were predominantly shops and ag buildings, it's not the same Burrows. And it's not because,
It's not
you know,
because of Burrows.
it's not because of
It's
Burrows,
the
right?
business is
It's
out. Yeah, the
business.
requests have
It's
changed, right?
Yeah, and we have the capacity and the ability to do it, right? Like, we are one of the largest truss producers for the type of trusses we produce.
I do want to say though, we do still make time in our truss runs to run stock trusses.
Yes.
So if
Yeah.
you are a shop builder, don't think, oh, I've got to go find another supplier that can turn in 3 days. You know, yeah, we're asking for a little more time, but you know, if it's a stock building, stock trusses, they're ran, you know, we're typically ahead on those. So we can turn those around quicker and more efficiently.
All right. So,
Yeah,
Jared,
Scott.
go
So
for it.
yeah, a couple of things I want to hit on real quick. One, your team, your CSR team does a fantastic job of communicating when there are changes. And kudos to your team because they really set the standard because they know how important it is. One, to make sure they take care of our customer, but also to communicate that to production, right? They do a fantastic job. And the next thing is, you know, I'm very competitive. I'm probably one of the most competitive people I know. I try to reel it in as much as I can to not make y'all think I'm crazy, but I am a little off on the competitive side. So I do like a good healthy competition from the standpoint of challenges coming in. Right, we can't do this always, but there was a time in the close past where customer said, "Hey, I'm in a spot. I need help.
Yep.
I need this tomorrow." And it's one of those times that I'm like, let's be heroes.
Sure.
Like, and it's not always doable, but for that particular order, everything worked out just right. And we were able to help and satisfy that customer with their trusses. Typically not a 1-day turnaround time, hardly ever.
Right.
3 days is a challenge just in level loading itself. But yes, I agree with what you're saying. You know, the game has changed a lot, and Burrows is doing everything they can to, and the team out there is doing everything they can to make sure that we level load and fulfill all of orders being requested of us.
100%. Well, we appreciate you too, Jared, and your team. Truss Crew's just a great group of people. Don't overwhelm us, but guys, if you want to come out, if you're like, hey, man, I like what they're talking about, I want to see this, you are welcome to come see it. We will give you tours. Just call ahead so we can get you scheduled, and that way we can focus our time on you for your time that you're here. If you don't and haven't heard about the Super Truss, guys, ask about the Super Truss. That truss is so customizable. Obviously, it doesn't have tails. We're not doing all that, but it is a great truss, and it's priced competitive. So if you're building the standard 30 by 40 shops, man, just do a Super Truss. Make it easy on yourself. And we stock those, right? So 30s and 40s. So Jared, man, thank you. I appreciate it. Josh,
Thank you.
Thanks,
you have
Jared.
anything for us?
No, it was a good show. And yeah, it was great having Jared on and talking truss and doing something a little different.
That's right. All right. Well, trust us, guys. We appreciate you. We appreciate your business. Yet I said trust us. I didn't say trust. I said trust. Trust us. Josh, you're just not very smiley today, my friend. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.
right.
Happy Thanksgiving right around the corner. And we'll
Yes.
see you on the next episode of Post Frame 360.